Okay, guys, so my name is Tobias, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Langston Hughes and who he was, and also like his short story about One Friday Morning. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So first of all, Langston Hughes was like born on the 1st of February 1901 in Joplin, Missouri, and he unfortunately died on May 22nd, 1967 in New York City because of some complications from a recent surgery that he went under for some prostate cancer. Sorry. And Hughes was really like one of the most like central writers in what's called the Harlem Renaissance. He was also like how can you say this? A big. It was like a big cultural movement in the 1920s and 30s, where black artists and poets and musicians came together and kind of shaped some of the American culture so that we see today. So yeah, and he was mostly known for giving a voice to ordinary Black Americans under this Renaissance, like portraying their struggles and their resilience and just like their everyday lives through some poetry and prose that he made, which also inspired some activists and like other artists to like keep pushing for this justice that African Americans kept reaching for when they just arrived in America and like in the early stages of the American society. And now just a like quick resume of his short story, The One Friday Morning. It was published in 1941, and the main character is this girl called Nancy Lee Johnson, which in this text is a talented black high school student, which makes a watercolor painting that wins her a scholarship to a artist club, which is and she's really like proud of herself and her art, and proud of being black, and just really proud of her community and her country. Um, she even prepares like a speech for liberty and justice for all, and the American dream and like everything like that. But just before the big assembly that she needs to go to in her school, her principal, Miss O'Shea, calls her into her office to speak with her. And instead of congratulating her on the award, Nancy Lee finds out that it's actually taken back, and that the committee, the Artist Club committee, realized that when they realized that she was black, they actually thought it would cause some difficulties if she showed up at the city's art school. So she's like devastated. But she tries to like hold her dignity, and Miss O'Shea comforts her, like saying America's democracy is kind of still being built and not really fully completed yet. And she even kind of shares her own story of coming to America because she is Irish, and when she first arrived, she received a lot of discrimination because of where she came from. And Nancy Lee, she then decides that she won't give up and like wants to like keep going so that others won't face some of the same injustices that she has faced. Um, and then she just goes back. She goes back into this assembly and then joins her classmates and the rest of the school to the pledge. Sorry, to the pledge with liberty and justice for all, with some tears in her eyes. So yeah, just quickly in this presentation, I would like to analyze how he uses some comparisons and superficial examples to like show how African Americans were undermined. So yeah, let's just get into the analysis part then. So first, Nancy Lee herself. She's this young black girl who moved north to get like some opportunities to study and to get better opportunities. So she's very talented and she wins the scholarship, but she also represents something bigger. Like she represents the whole black community, and she even says it in her speech, as we see in the text. Now, she is actually the only black person in her school, which we also hear. We read it in like I think it's the first page. But we also hear that her friends don't really treat her differently. they actually see her as one of their own, like they're kind of like colorblind, if you could say it like that. And she often also forgets herself that she is of color. um but still, like in this story, she ends up standing alone, um and like representing the fight for like equal opportunities for people of color compared to like um white people. um we also got some themes. We got like racism and some discrimination and just like the American dream overall. So like the big thing I'd say also is the ideal versus the reality. As we hear, her family like moves to the north, hoping for their daughter, Nancy, to get better chances to like escape this racism and get better opportunities for educational purposes and stuff. Um, but as they didn't think, but um, in reality, it didn't match the dream, unfortunately. We also see it in a quote from the story: "When the committee learned that you were colored, they changed their plans." So even if people like had changed a bit, the bias was still there when it came to the real decisions that was actually made. Which is the actual difference from the ideals to the reality. It's almost never as we think it is, but we all our brain like automatically even like thinks of either like the best possible outcome or the worst possible outcome. Like if we have an exam coming up, this is like the complete opposite. But like an example of this is, we always think that we're gonna get the worst grade possible, and we're just gonna get hit on by the teacher and like never think that we're gonna get a good grade. But here's like the opposite, right? They think they're going to get to like the best place, getting away from all the racism, getting the good educational like opportunities. But it's never like that in real life. So we just gotta face that, you know. And we also got like some symbols like from the painting. She paints like this flag and like the whole oh sorry comedy scene. Like he was also using them to show that even in a place where like democracy and freedom are celebrated, racism is still kind of blocking the equality. Um, and I also think that Hughes is basically like reminding us that we all carry some bias, even if we don't notice. Like no matter how good we think we are, we're we've all been shaped by like some of these general ideas that we like sharing with us when we grew up. You know, we all had some like ideas of how everything worked, and some implicit biases like implemented into our brains from like, you can't say birth, but like from the whole childhood. You know what I'm saying? Um, and also like the stories could also be super relevant today because Nancy's experience could honestly like happen in modern times as well. Like this fight against racism is also going on right now. Even like sorry. But at least like today, the topic is more openly discussed, which is, you can say, is progress. So like quickly to like sum up, Langston Hughes, uh, like through Nancy Lee's story, shows us that the gap between like the American dream and the actual reality of African Americans, through like the painting, the flag, and by like contrasting Nancy Lee's talent with the actual committee's prejudice. Hugh makes it like very clear that racism still undermines equality. Like, and what we can kind of learn from this maybe is like kind of freedom and justice can't just be words. They actually like need some action, and some courage, you know, and some persistence to keep going even though it's hard. Like you have to go through the hard times sometimes to obtain what you want. Sorry. And Nancy Lee chooses also not to give up and shows us that like this kind of progress is actually possible, but like only if individuals like refuse to accept this kind of injustice. Like if the individual like, what can you say, like um yeah, just like convinces themselves that it's you can do it, and like if you just keep going like a little longer, it'll actually be possible. If every individual thinks like this, it actually kind of obtain the dream that they want. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like he reminds us that freedom and equality don't mean anything if they're not like practiced in reality. You can say like all the things that you want in word form, but it actually needs to go out in the real world to be tested. So yeah, thank you so much.